Can you see me?
I see your picture.
Oh, okay. Do I need to say start video?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see me now?
Now I see you.
Oh, okay. I can't see you. Do I need to see you?
You can see me.
Okay.
You see me now?
Yes, I see you. Nice to put a face with the name. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, good. Great. Give me 1 second.
Take your time. I'm not in a hurry.
All right. I'm trying to call my boss.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he's able to join.
I'm going to turn my air purifier off and try to eliminate some background noise while you're doing that.
Okay. I am not sure if he's can join. So let's do this. I mean, I discussed with him yesterday, and Richard called yesterday also after like around 4:30. He called to let me know that he served me with eviction, demand for possession. He said that day before you threatened him to kill him, to him and to the maintenance person. So I asked him, was that a verbal threat or did she do something? He said it was verbal, but she had the recording of what happened. So he said, as a result, we care about our safety and we decided to terminate the lease. So if you recall very well, last time our discussion, I told you like until we submit the reasonable accommodation request, until you provide the doctor's note, just comply, don't give them any justification, excuse to take any action against you. So now what he's saying is, you violated the lease, and as a result, they have decided to terminate your lease. I got your doctor's note. It was good. It is good. But I don't know how to go forward with the accommodation at this point while they have served you with the eviction or demand for possession. And how, in case if you want to defend and dispute the violations, how are you going to defend them?
I'm sorry if I want to dispute, what was that?
The violations, the least violations, how are you going to dispute them? How are you going to
Well,
show that?
I was waiting for you to finish before I said that. Okay, first of all, no, I did not threaten their life, and I have the whole thing on videotape of what actually did happen and what actually was said. Second of all, I never ever refused to comply. I had told Richard when I get my 30-day notice, and this was several days previous, but I've said this, and I asked him about 3 weeks ago, I think it was around the 23rd or 24th or something, when we had I told you we had a little showdown in the hall, I had asked him, should I have gotten a 30-day notice? Well, he tried to avoid the answer and not say a yes or no and tried to just navigate around it. And I kept saying, I want a yes or no answer. Should I have gotten the 30-day notice? After about 3 times, he finally said no. And I said, okay, when I get the 30-day notice and I get the 15-day notice, just like you had said at the meeting, which I did attend, during that last 2 weeks upon the 15-day notice, when will be 2 inspections, and they will be coming around to help make sure we're on the right path in preparing our apartments, then, okay, then we will talk. But I have not even gotten my 30-day notice, and I'm not going to keep being disturbed without a notice, with people knocking on my door, disrupting my life, when I have not even got the 30-day notice yet. I never refused to comply. Then, the day in question, okay, it doesn't matter what he says, it doesn't matter what kind of, what he has manufactured, because he's manufactured false documentation before, and I have that proven by video recording, that goes back a year ago. There was no notice on my door. None. And Sue is sitting right here as a witness who lives directly across the hall from me, and she can verify there was no notice on my door. When I left here at 4 p.m., there was no notice, and when I returned home from Planet Fitness about 9 or after at night, there was no notice. And Sue right here testifies that. And she has not received her notices either. Now, when Richard came to the door, aside from the fact that there was no notice and I was not expecting anybody, I had just not too long had woken up, and I was still sitting in my bed, which is a blanket right here on the floor in this front room. And I was not dressed, I was in my pajamas, and the knocking started. Well, and I have told Richard, and this conversation is also video recorded. When me and Richard on, I believe it was May 25th, me and him had a 23-minute recorded conversation where we were supposed to be clearing the air and getting it coordinated on the same page and working together. And I thought that's what we were doing. And I had explained to Richard the crimes that are going on in this building against me. And I have explained to him that they need to stop. And I explained to him what he knows, because they're all part of it, that I have already been kidnapped out of this apartment by the Centerline PD with a master key that they have to all apartments, which I have a 13-minute video of the whole kidnapping, what happened with my adult protective service worker, who is Debbie Johns, who's also involved in this incident, was on the other line with the cops, and I had another friend of mine here who was on speakerphone with them at the same time I recorded it. Okay, this is only, and the cops are here constantly beating on my door. And Sue can testify that it is KMG Prestige that is calling them and sending them. And I have to, when this happens, I freeze. I look out the door wall and I see if when somebody knocks on the door, and I explained all this to Richard in a very civil conversation where I thought we were getting on the same page. I look out the window. If I see the cops, I go in the back room and I get on the phone and I start making phone calls to get them called off while I stay silent in this apartment. Well, when Richard started knocking on the door, I looked out, I did not see cops. But because the knocking got harder and harder and it continued for a prolonged amount of time, I'm going to say several minutes, I don't even know, and I was kind of getting traumatized thinking, okay, I don't see the cops out here, but maybe they have walked around. Maybe they got smart and walked over because they're right next door, the station. Well, then all of a sudden, I started picking up my phones, getting ready to record and make calls. And as I was starting to get up off of my bed, all of a sudden, my door starts getting kicked in. Now, it is important to note that I have a security bar, a door jamb security bar, that I ordered for it is manufactured for that purpose, and I have 2 thick steel knives that I use as door jambs, and I have a table with a square heavy metal 1970 style box fan in front of the door. He broke through those barricades, bent the knives, and knocked the table and the steel box fan over. And when the kicking started at the door, I didn't know it's Richard Griffin out there kicking the door. I thought for sure it's the cops here to kidnap me again. And then when the door actually broke open, but it wasn't open all the way, he had bent the knives and the door jamb flew out and it was like propped open. I started running up to the door with my phone recording, saying, "You don't have a warrant for my arrest. Get out of here." And that was right about the time Richard stuck his face through the opening like this, and he says, "I'm not here to arrest you, Miss Salem. I'm here for the building inspections. I put a notice on your door yesterday." And there was nobody in the hall with them. The contractor was not in the hall. And I said, "Get out of here. My life isn't." And he starts talking about, "You have the door blocked and you're getting a violation for a blocked egress." And I'm like, "Look, you're going to have to come back in 1 hour. I am not even dressed." I says, "I will get dressed and and when you come back in 1 hour, I will open the door." He says, "I will be back here at 11:24 and you will open this door and you will let us in." And fine, yes, I will. And that is exactly what I did. First, I called Adult Protective Services, and I reported it as the crime that it is. And then I called you, and I reported it to you. And then I got ready, and I waited till they came. And when they came, I recorded the entire time they were here, and I informed them, I informed the contractor, "Sir, you are in obstruction of justice in an international criminal investigation in the International Criminal Court for Interpol Yellow Notice number 21-22733. Okay? And I told Richard, I told him, as they tromped through my home with no respect, walked right past me, he just started whipping over my cupboards and cabinets and taking pictures. He was opening closets that there's only one closet included in the project. Well, he was opening closets that are not included and taking pictures of my personal stuff. And I said I thought that's not included. And when I said that, he shut it. And I told him on the video, I said, "You're a bald-faced liar, Richard Griffin. You never put a notice on my door. You never gave me a 30-day notice, and you've never gave me a 15-day notice." And then I followed them into the other room. And Richard was completely ignoring me, not even acknowledging me. And I said, Richard Griffin, I said, "I am taking your life on a kidnapping, human trafficking, terrorism, and treason charge. And in the ICC and the ICJ, and that is valid and that is legit. And that's what you need to talk to your puppet masters about, because that's what's going on here. Richard Griffin is the puppet master who doesn't have the necessary intelligence, security level to know why he's even supposed to be doing what he's doing. Okay, and I have tried, and I have 2 years worth of recordings of me going down to Richard and reporting crimes and abuses and targeting. Okay, and the rent theft. I have video of Shayla down there in March 26th, the day after me and Richard had that discussion where we were clearing the air. And I explained to Richard, I explained to him the situation, why I do not answer the door. I told him, Richard, I'm not avoiding anybody. I says, I don't know who's out there. I don't look out to see if it's you, if it's maintenance, if it's the cops. He said in the video, recorded video, he said, understood. And we had come to agreement that he would always give me a 24-hour notice, and I had agreed that I would comply. And we had also agreed that that I would be taking Monday and Tuesday off of my physical therapy, because these are the days he said they would need to be coming in. And I agreed that I would clear my schedules every Monday and Tuesday for the duration of the project, so I could be here to comply with their obligations. And that is what I did. And this is all recorded on, I believe, the 25th of April, or March. I take that back. It was March. And then the day after that was when I discovered they stole my March rent, like they had done for February 2022. And I had, on March 10th, I had put my check in for $228. On March 26th, I had discovered it wasn't cashed. So I went down to the office and I inquired with Shayla, the new assistant manager, and she told me they're not cashing it because I have a credit balance. And I said, well, I already have a reasonable accommodation for my disability to have a 2-month credit balance. And they basically shut the door on my face. And then she moved down to the window and she stood behind the closed glass with my uncashed check in her hand, waving it like a 12-year-old kid, dancing and laughing in my face like, ha ha, like taunting me with my check while I am demanding a receipt, which she refused. I came back up, I called Richard. Richard told me, come down at 2, I'll give you a receipt. I went back down there. Now, this is the day after we cleared the air between us and decided I have to live here and he has to work here. So let's just clear the air and let's, from here on out, we'll coordinate and work together, and we'll just forget that everything in the past has happened and we'll start over from fresh. This was my suggestion, how the conversation ended. And he agreed that yes, he doesn't like bad air between people either. And the conversation ended with a smile and a have a good night on both sides. And then the next day, I discovered this about my check. So when I went down there to Richard to get the receipt, I recorded him and I said, listen, Richard, I said, from now on, I'm dealing with you and you only. I gave him respect he doesn't deserve. I told him, I said, Richard, you are the only one around here that has the intelligence, the maturity, and the professionalism to have a conversation with me. I said, you got this 12-year-old kid in the office who's dancing with my uncashed check. I said, and then you got this other kid whose job duties are to support the nearest wall he's leaning up against while I have to talk to the top of his head and he plays video games on his phone. I said, and nobody wants to answer a yes or no question while rent is being stolen. My rent has been stolen 3 times now. I am only going to deal with you. And he agreed that was understandable. Okay, and I was just hoping, okay, perhaps this is going to be the end of it. Well, it hasn't been the end of it. And in the video where
I watched the video, and she didn't threaten his life.
Well, in the video, as they are leaving, and I'm standing by the door, and the door is open, my broken door, okay, because there's destruction of property here. The contractor, he just walked right out, walked right past me and walked out the door fine. Richard, instead of doing the same, stood there and he started going, "Let me out, Miss Salem. Please move and let me out." I said, "You got plenty of room, Richard. You're fine." And I showed him the video. He had plenty of room. And as he's walking past, he's going, "You're touching me. You're touching me." I said, "No, you're touching me. And I'm not going to give you respect you don't deserve." I told him, "Why don't you just do what you do and use your blunt physical force like you did this morning?" Because when he came to my door, I did not know it was Richard. And Richard knows the situation, and he knows I don't ask who it is and I don't look. Richard had three options. Number one, he had the option of actually putting a notice on my door in 24 hours before, and there would have not have been an issue. I would have been up and awake and expecting him. The other option he had was to make himself known, particularly knowing the situation. While he was standing there knocking for a prolonged amount of time, he had every opportunity to say, "It's management. It's Richard from the office." Every opportunity. And then I would have felt comfortable to open the door, knowing who was there. The other option that Richard had that he did not utilize was to do as he had done a few days before, would be to call my phone, which he did, I think it was last Friday. He called my phone, and I seen about an hour after that I had missed his call, and I returned the call, and Tyrone in the office said that Richard is not here, that he called this morning, but he left sick. Okay, well, when he didn't get an answer, he had the option to go downstairs to the office and look up my phone number and call me and say, "Miss Salem, I'm outside your door. I need you to open the door." And I would have opened the door. But Richard didn't do that. He did not announce himself and make himself known. He did not try to call my phone, and he did not put a notice on the door the day before. He stood there and he knocked hard for a prolonged amount of time.
I came out.
And then at whatever point he decided, and what I think that he might not even have known I was in this apartment. And he was going to get in here once and for all and see for himself what is going on, what I'm hiding, which I'm speculating. And he took power and authority that he doesn't have with his 6'4" big old self and his size 10 to 12 foot shoe, and he just straight went to kicking my door down with the full blunt physical force of a 6'4" grown man, while I am in this apartment alone, unarmed, disabled, and defenseless. Okay, I am not a threat to myself, and I am not a threat to others. And I also, in one of those recorded conversations with Richard, it was I believe the second day after they had stolen my rent again. Very recently, the 7-page psych evaluation that I sent you, I took that down to Richard, and that should be in my file there. And I said, "Here, Richard," I said, "here is my 7-page psych evaluation. This is court ordered, recommended by the court." I said, "This verifies my credibility and who I am as a person." I says, and hopefully that will serve as a protection the next time the cops come over here trying to kidnap me on a false mental health warrant. And he said, "Could I make a copy of this?" I said, "That's yours to keep. That copy is for you. Please keep that in my file." And that is the same psych evaluation I sent you. And that is the situation here. And when Richard was walking past me out the door, which is recorded, I had said to Richard, I said, "Richard," I told him, I said, "and you're a bald-faced liar to tell the fair housing guy that you put a notice on the door when you didn't." and to tell him that I refused to comply. I said, I never refused to comply, Richard. You violated my right to comply. I was never given the opportunity to comply. He just straight went to physical violence and kicking my door down. And I don't believe he was here for the inspection. Nobody was with him. And Richard doesn't come to do the inspections on anybody's apartment. He's not with any of them. I believe he was coming up here for whatever reasons he was coming. And when there was no answer, I believe that he probably assumed I wasn't here. And since his key didn't work and the door is barricaded and he couldn't open it, in Richard's mind, that gives him the right to just start to kicking the door down. And then when he did discover that I actually was here, that is when he, I started trying to turn it into, oh, well, we're here for the inspection. Okay, that is not how it goes. Okay, even if they were here for the inspection, and even if there was a notice, and they were at the door knocking, and they didn't get an answer, they don't just straight immediately just say, okay, let's take the door down. Okay, no.
Okay, so Ms. Salim, I have 10 minutes left for the Zoom meeting to end. So what I would love to do now is just let me explain that it's going to be hard for us to defend the eviction. You have to go to court and explain everything to the judge. But if you feel like, you said you did not receive the 30-day notice. From what he told me, he said you received the 30-day notice. Okay. But you're telling me you have not.
Correct,
right?
and correct.
Okay.
And one second. Sue right here is a witness. She hasn't received hers either.
No,
Sue.
let's do this. Okay. So one way we can assist you is I can draft a complaint with Michigan Department of Civil Rights. I'll help you to file that complaint. And I just want to now take some note to see how we can draft that. So so they have to prove that you've received the 30-day notice. I said, like he told me you did, but they did not provide you 30-day notice.
I didn't get one either.
Say it louder.
I didn't get one either.
Wait, Sue's saying something.
I didn't get a 30-day notice either.
No. So let's not confuse.
Okay.
Now I can only deal with 1% about one case only.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm just using her as a witness.
Yes, you can give me.
Yes, that's, and I'm a witness for her also.
So that if she did not receive a 30-day notice, and then it becomes like you are not being singled out, you are not discriminated against. We cannot allege discrimination because you are not the only person who did not receive the 30-day notice.
Well, there is a past history of discrimination and retaliation, in which began way before I originally contacted you in October.
What about me in assisted living?
And that is the reason why I contacted you in October, to try to get a reasonable accommodation, to navigate to up against their targeting and retaliation.
Let's break it down. First, let's talk about discrimination, about this particular incident. If you have a past discrimination complaint, you can explain that to me as well, but let's see one thing at a time. So in this particular circumstance, do you feel that you are being discriminated? As far as the lease violation, I'll ask you to send me the videos, but at the same time, you have to defend it before the judge as to whether you violated the lease or not. They have to provide their proof, and you have to defend it, then the judge will make a decision about that.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, and that is what
As far as discrimination is concerned, in this particular situation, circumstances, like do you feel that you're being singled out, discriminated, and why, and what's the reason?
And, well, what it is, and it's the same thing that I've told them in their face over months and months of videos, it is racial and political, racial and religious profiling, targeting, discrimination, persecution, and retaliation. That is what it is. And this is an ongoing history.
This is general. So because of your race, what have they done against you?
They've stole my rent 3 times. They have manufactured false documentations in the form of third notices.
Okay. Let me stop you now. Let me stop you about that. These issues are not related to what happened.
Yes, they are. They are. This is because it's escalated to this. It's escalated to this, and I have been begging for somebody to intervene. And I have hours of footage with the service coordinator, Mr. Will Collins, who was here, of him trying to advocate and him trying to talk to them, and they have refused. I have made every attempt to try to settle any matter between us, and everybody have some peace. And this is all video recorded, and it is accumulation that has escalated to this.
Speak slice by slice, event by event, incident by incident. If we mix everything together, I'm not going to be able to draft a complaint. So I am asking specific questions. So about the rent or the other things, I believe we have resolved it in the past. But if there is something remaining, then we can discuss about that, but not now.
The best I can do.
About the things that surrounding your eviction, surrounding the inspection, about these 2 things, do you feel you are being discriminated?
Yes, and I feel like I am a victim of a violent crime. I am a victim of home invasion, unlawful entry.
If it is crime, you have to report to police.
I did. I sent you a copy.
So let's not bring it here. I'm focusing on the issue of housing, unlawful housing discrimination.
And this is part of it.
If it is crime, it's not within our jurisdiction, it's not within our scope,
Right.
It's not within our mandate. Just, do you feel that you are being discriminated with regard to the inspection, with regard to the eviction, with regard to the lease violations? Is that because of your race, and what have particularly and specifically have done against you?
Yes, I absolutely do believe that, and the best way for me to, without trying to explain what is going to take way too much talking, is